You have been doing everything right. You set up the automatic transfers. You ignored the market crashes. You kept investing when everyone around you was spending. And somewhere along the way, quietly, without any announcement, your portfolio crossed $350,000. And nothing felt different. No notification, no congratulations, no moment where the world acknowledged what just happened. But something did change. Something fundamental. Something that most people who haven't crossed that number yet don't understand. And something that even most people who have crossed it haven't fully realized. Because $350,000 invested is not just a bigger number than $100,000. It is a different category of wealth entirely. The rules change, the math changes, and if you don't understand what changes and why, you will keep behaving like someone who is still at $50,000. And that mistake will cost you more than you think. This is what actually happens after $350,000. Most people think wealth is linear. You put in $500 a month. You get a little more. You put in $1,000 a month. You get a little more. The graph goes up slowly and steadily, and eventually someday you retire. That is not how this works. Wealth is not linear. It is exponential. And the problem with exponential growth is that it looks like nothing is happening for a very long time. And then suddenly, it looks like everything is happening at once. $350,000 is the point where you stop being in the nothing is happening phase. You have crossed into the everything is happening phase. And most people have no idea what that actually means for their daily life, their decisions, and their future. If you have been watching this channel for a while, you already know we do not do motivation here. We do not tell you to believe in yourself or think positive. We show you the actual mechanics, the numbers, the system underneath the system. So if that is what you are here for, stay with me, because what I am about to show you is going to reframe how you think about every dollar you have already invested and every dollar you are about to invest. Section 1. Your money starts making more than you do. At $350,000 invested, assuming a conservative 5% average annual return, your portfolio is generating $17,500 per year. That is $1,458 every single month, produced automatically while you sleep, while you work, while you do nothing at all. Now think about what you actually do in a month to earn money. You show up, you perform, you trade hours, you deal with people and deadlines and stress and politics. And after all of that, the government takes its share and you keep what is left. Your portfolio does none of that. It just compounds silently, automatically, without complaint. For most people, $1,458 a month is a car payment, a utility bill, a grocery budget, and a streaming subscription all at once. It is not retirement, but it is no longer nothing. It is real money generated by money you already own, and it is only going to accelerate from here. This is the first thing that changes at $350,000. You are no longer just an earner. You are now both an earner and an owner. And owners accumulate differently than earners do. Compound interest stops being a concept and starts being a force. Everyone has heard the compound interest speech. You probably heard it in a classroom. Someone showed you a chart. It looked impressive. You nodded and moved on. But here is what that speech never told you. Compound interest is almost meaningless at low balances. At $10,000, a 10% return gives you $1,000. That is nice. At $50,000, the same return gives you $5,000. Better. But at $350,000, that same 10% return gives you $35,000 in a single year. $35,000 from 1 year without adding a single new dollar. That is more than the average American saves in 2 or 3 years of active effort. And your portfolio just produced it automatically. This is why the wealthy keep getting wealthier, and it has nothing to do with secret knowledge or unfair advantages. It is pure mathematics. The more you have, the more the percentage produces. And the more it produces, the faster the next percentage compounds on top of it. At $350,000, you are now deep enough into that curve that every single year starts producing more than the last one by a meaningful margin. You are not climbing anymore. You are starting to accelerate. Section 3. Your contributions become almost irrelevant. This one is going to feel strange. You have spent years focused on how much you contribute each month. $500, $800, $1,000. That monthly number has been the lever you pull, the thing you control, the effort that proves you are serious about building wealth. After $350,000, that lever starts to matter less and less. At a 7% average annual return, your $350,000 portfolio grows by $24,500 in the first year. If you also contribute $500 a month, you add $6,000. Your contributions represent less than 20% of your total growth. The portfolio is doing more than 3 times the work you are doing. By the time you reach $500,000, your portfolio at 7% is growing by $35,000 annually. Your $6,000 in contributions is now less than 15% of total growth. And it keeps shifting. Every year, the portfolio's contribution grows and your contribution's relative weight shrinks. This does not mean stop contributing. You should keep contributing, but you need to understand what this shift means psychologically. Because most people at this stage are still obsessed with optimizing their monthly contribution and completely ignoring the much larger decision, which is how they are invested. A 1% difference in your average annual return on $350,000 is $3,500 per year. That is more than 6 months of $500 contributions. The return matters more than the deposit at this stage, and that changes where your attention should go. Section 4. The sequence of returns risk becomes real. Up until $350,000, a market crash is painful but recoverable. If your $80,000 portfolio drops 40%, you lose $32,000. That is a terrible feeling, but you have time. And your ongoing contributions keep buying discounted shares, and the market recovers, and you recover with it. At $350,000, a 40% crash cost you $140,000. That is not the same conversation. That is a number that takes years to rebuild. And if that crash happens at the wrong moment, close to retirement or right after a major life decision, it can permanently alter your financial trajectory. Asset allocation, diversification, rebalancing, these are not concepts for people with $5 million. They are decisions you need to be making right now at $350,000 because you now have enough that the wrong structure during the wrong market period will actually hurt you. The risk is no longer just opportunity risk, the risk of not investing and missing gains. It is now sequence risk, the risk of a devastating drop at the wrong time, wiping out a significant portion of what took you a decade to build. Section 5. Your time horizon calculation flips. Before $350,000, your primary question is, how do I grow this as fast as possible? You are in accumulation mode. Growth is everything. After $350,000, a second question starts to enter the picture. How do I protect what I have built while still growing it? Not because you are about to retire, but because you now have enough that a catastrophic loss would genuinely set you back. Section 6. The social reality shifts, and most people never notice. This section is harder to quantify, but it is just as real. When you have $350,000 invested, you are in the top 15% of American investors by portfolio size. Is that most financial conversations you have from this point forward will not apply to you. You need different inputs now, different peer groups, different questions, different advisors, because the game you are playing at $350,000 is genuinely different from the game most people around you are playing. And the biggest risk at this stage is not the market. It is taking advice designed for someone at a completely different stage of the journey. Section 7. The finish line gets visible for the first time. Here is the final shift, and in some ways it is the most powerful one. Before $350,000, retirement or financial independence feels abstract. Someday, eventually, a number you are working toward but cannot quite picture. At $350,000, the math starts to produce a real date. At 7% average returns with continued contributions. $350,000 becomes $700,000 in roughly 8 to 10 years through compounding alone. Add contributions and that timeline compresses further. $1 million is not a fantasy anymore. It is a projection. It is a date on a calendar. And once you can see the date, everything changes about how you make decisions. You stop making short-term trade-offs that cost you long-term. You stop cashing out when the market scares you. You stop lifestyle inflating just because you got a raise. Because now the finish line is visible, and that visibility is one of the most powerful behavioral tools you can have. $350,000 is not the end of the journey. It is the point where the journey fundamentally changes in nature. You crossed from building to accelerating, from contributing to compounding, from hoping to projecting. Most people never get here because they stop somewhere in the middle. They get distracted. They cash out. They let lifestyle inflation consume every raise. They never let the number get big enough for the math to take over. You now know what is waiting on the other side of that number. And if you are not there yet, you know exactly what you are building toward and why it is worth every month of discipline it takes to get there. If this gave you a clearer picture of where you are or where you are headed, share it with one person